So we asked you the question, which scenario is best? Can you work out the number of seats to sell, which will give the airlines the best profit and make sure they're optimizing their resources? Did you decide on a number near 195 seats? If not, can you see why you should have from this diagram? The chance that all 195 people turn up in this diagram is nearly 0%. So if we think back to our worst case revenue example from earlier, that has a nearly 0% chance of actually occurring. The most likely outcome here is that 175 people turn up. That's still well below 180 seats, and yet we've managed to collect revenue for 195. Of course, there's still a chance that we're going to need to bump people off the flight, but as long as the cost of this is less than the cost of the revenue we've generated from overselling, we're still going to be fine and the airline is still going to be pleased. So you might think 195 is the best scenario? Actually, no. It turns out that 198 seats is the best scenario. This is the one that's most likely to give you maximum revenue. That's a little bit harder to work out just from the binomial distribution graph, but we can look at it on this graph, which is showing us maximum revenue. So let's look at this. So this graph is the overbooking revenue function. So this is C equals 180 is the number of seats that the plane has. P is 90% is the probability that someone turns up on time, and N is 198 is the number of seats that we sell. And this graph is plotting, the sort of probability revenue function. And where it has a maximum is going to be the best scenario for the airline. So if I adjust N is 198 here, if I go down to 195, you can see it's actually less than the expected revenue that we would get from 198. And if we go down to 180, let's adjust that. Oops. Sorry, I've gone up to 213. Let's go back. So if I went down to 180, you can see that that's far below the expected revenue of 198 seats. And obviously, the less seats we sell, the less revenue we make. Let's look at what happens if we sell too many seats, so over 198. Now the profit starts to decrease. Why is the profit decreasing? Well, it's decreasing because now we're having to pay for more people to be compensated after they've been bumped off their flights. And actually, at a certain point, we start to make less money than if we just didn't overbook it all. So we have to be careful there. But I hope you can see from this function that the maximum revenue is when we have the maximum expected revenue is when we have 198 seats sold, and the expected revenue here is actually £48,774.51, and that's pretty good. That's almost £4,000 more than we might expect if we didn't oversell, and that's why we say that it's a good idea to do this. So the airline can expect to make £48,744 from selling 198 seats, which is almost 4,000 more than if they didn't oversell. And you can imagine that if we multiply that number by the number of flights per year, that really adds up fast. They're making a lot more money than if they didn't oversell. I hope that makes sense. On the next slide, or in the next activity, you're going to get to watch a little summary PowerPoint, little summary video of the topics that we've covered today. So do have a look at that. It's by TED-Ed. It's really great. And then after that, we've got a little summary about what we learned on the site and some information about how statistics links to college and above. You might be interested to know that the entry requirement for statistics is a grade 6, and you might be interested to know about how statistics links to other A levels and how it might link to future careers. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the session.